afternoon. This is a special show which will incorporate what is happening presently in our local horse races in Jamaica. Here I have the president of the United Racehorse Trainers Association, Mr. Patrick Smellie, and the first vice president, Mr. Maurice Crooks. DK water provides much needed oxygen to the body and brain and aids in digestion, helps maintain a healthy body weight, and tastes great as it's not boiled or any other ways and means of trying to purify the water. It's natural. It's located at 2 Creek Road, Kingston 6. You can call them 876-627-91145. That's 876-627-91145. Okay, let's get to the matter. Racing in Jamaica has been on the decline to an extent, and the Horseman has given Supreme Ventures Racing Entertainment Limited a breath of fresh air by not really pushing too hard on them, with hopes that the plans that they have instigated will soon come to fore. We have a new tote board. We have the solar system to cut the electricity bills. We have purse increase, thanks to United Racehorse Trainers Association, who has implemented that move, and it has been going well. And we are looking up. And of course, you have the Open Gate Show to enlighten you on what is really happening. Patrick Smellie, good afternoon. Welcome to the Open Gate Show.
Thank you, sir.
And I must say, Maurice, also.
Thank you, welcome, and good to be here.
Representation, lack of representation in the horse racing industry, in my opinion, has caused it to be at this low level. Well, it was. For the Jamaican Racehorse Trainers Association, the president, Ertash, we have started to make a move whereby we have gained some positiveness out of all this. And I'm going to ask both the president and the first vice president to elaborate on where they took it from, where it's at now, and what is in the pipeline, say, for another year. Patrick, you can start first.
Well, when we took over at Ertash, we don't ever want to say it was in a desolate place, that we would be that strong, but they were representing, but the trainers wanted a change. So we got the change, and to be fair, we continued on some of the discussions that was there before, and we stepped up the game. And it's all about, respecting SVREL and having SVREL respect us as trainers. So we started out, and we kind of got that going good. We're seeking a mutual respect, because that is needed and that is beneficial to any organization going forward. So we started from there, and the purse increase was the main thing on the minds of people. And after some very, what's the word I would use, Maurice? Serious negotiations, long and hard.
Intense.
Intense is the right word. Intense negotiations. We are where we are now. It's not the best place, but it's better than where we were a year ago. Maurice can interject now.
Just an editorial note, Colin. I'm the second vice president.
Oh, sorry.
We negotiated with the promoting body for around 3 to 4 months. And we struck a deal which would entail that in future years, there is a formula that was agreed on, which we would determine how the purses would be structured. Albeit the formula is linked to the performance through the sales revenue generated by the promoting company. And whether we like it or not, and I was a little hesitant about it initially, it's an accepted norm now in most businesses, even employers, employees, whatever is performance, right? We should say also to that, in January of this year, the promoting body had negotiated with the then Trainers Association and its representative, and I believe Mr. Duncan intervened, and they got $18 million temporarily for 6 months. We have been able to garner to reinstate the 18 and add $40 million to that thing, right? And given the trajectory or the sales trajectory or the actual sales and what is projected for the remaining 4 or 5 months of the year, we think that we should be above that figure substantially next year when the purse is determined and their revenues have been determined, and what is known as the gross gaming revenue is determined, which is sales minus what they pay out for dividends.
And what was agreed with them is that the purses for the year 2022, which is about 740 or 60 million, somewhere between there.
Yeah, 749.
This would be the benchmark for any purses going forward. It cannot be lower than the year 2022. So although we'll be tied to sales, no matter what happens, the purses cannot be lower than this year.
We also agreed to that there will be a review process, and we would meet every 6 months, right? And discuss issues and review the performance, right? And they give us some statistics and actuality for their revenue generated so far.
Well, this is good news because Horseman and one of the owners, that's a big concern investing into the game. Of course, gone are the days when you have true horse people whereby they're in it for the love of it. There are a few still, but that is waning. We have people, horse racing is a business now. We have people are looking at how much they pay to keep and clear their horses compared to what they're going to earn.
Right.
For example, if the horse wins 3 races for the year, and it doesn't max out. But we're going to categorize this whole discussion. First of all, the concerns of the horsemen. Second, we're going to try to give ideas, to the promoting company in what we think can help to obtain more horses, obtain more new owners, and other aspects. Mr. President, Supreme Ventures is total business, and looking through horse racing through the business eye is different than if you're looking through the horseman eye, if you know what I mean.
Correct.
What idea, and you go first and I'll ask Maurice after, you think could help to, first of all, we're talking about the horseman concern, like when you spoke about the purse increase, we're talking about things like the appearance fee, we're talking about this ridiculous thing about fine for colors, which we are the only racetrack that they're going to find, and have a hefty fine too, for colors. You're talking about increase in vaccine, so many things going up, and there's not much for the owner. And most horses are owned by trainers, so it's trainer and owner. Elaborate on what you think would be a good.
I start by saying if we didn't have this worldwide crisis this year, the war in Ukraine that has caused oil prices to skyrocket, and if that didn't happen and we got the increases that we have gotten, it wouldn't be a bad increase. But because our costs have skyrocketed because of this instance, oil, grains, all of that, that makes the increase seem negligible. In terms of the business aspect of it and what needs to be done, Supreme Ventures are business people. Huh? They look through their lens as to what they want to do. I disagree with how they have gone about some things, but they are business people, so they're doing it their way.
Mm-hmm.
Like, let's take for instance the solar, which is going to save the company a lot of money for electricity, which is needed to save them some money. Because I remember when I was there as a member of the CTL board, that was one of the things that really put a dent in the earnings. But I would have looked at the aging infrastructure first, i.e. stables with leaking roofs, drains, and roads. Yes, they have done the paddock area, they have paved the entire paddock area, which is a good thing because that was needed. But then there's also the Eros road there now going down the 5th Street, which is in a bad condition and is causing problems to horses and to humans and to motor vehicles.
True.
So I would have done that a little differently. I would have dealt with that first and then come on in probably the first quarter or second quarter of next year with the solar or third quarter. But then that is how they do their thing. So all of these things take discussions, and I think we have reached somewhere now where we can have discussions with Supreme Ventures and tell them what are our thoughts on moving the thing forward.
Well, let me say something. The solar infrastructures are very conspicuous.
Right.
Is there any possibility that below the brain, the solar equipment,
Right.
they could turn out those into stables?
Yes, there is the possibility of that, and I was speaking with someone the other day, and he was telling me that they had that in mind, because that you have that big space to be used and you have the roof there already, So that's a thought, and that's a good thought that can be used to turn into stables.
Why I was at Gulfstream.
Stables and car parks.
Yes, I was at Gulfstream the other day, and the new so-called stable, if I may say that, it simulates what the solar system, the solar apparatus there at the track. I mean,
Right.
It's cooler,
Yes.
and I'm hoping the hierarchy of Supreme Ventures
Right.
see the idea at Gulfstream and could use that idea here to help to alleviate the stable woes. Maybe they could use those, and the older stables, they could just tear them down, do away with them.
Yes. Well, we have had any discussions with them on issues like those, because we're looking at trying to fix some of the older issues first. But yes, you're quite right. That's a good idea, and I think that's the way that they're going to go.
Maurice, you and I, we have to travail the way to our stables in the morning, especially on a race day. What can you say about that, as well as the pool and our area at the top?
You alluded to the roadway.
Yes.
We had met with them earlier on this year, and it was proposed that they were going to carry the fence in a little bit, right?
We had asked, right,
and then create a greater bridle path, a wider bridle path, so the horses to walk on, and then repair the road.
Right. So you can have two horses going back and forth, because that is one of the problems.
That's what I said.
You only have one horse going on it now. So if the bridle path is wider, then you can have horses traversing and continue.
The pool.
No, let me get back to that. So if you narrow the pathway for the vehicular traffic.
No, you're not.
No.
That will be maintained.
Right.
The bridle path, the
Yeah,
fence,
wide.
the boundary fence that is there now, that boundary is the track.
Yeah.
That would go in some more to the track. So the bridle path would be a bit wider.
Oh, okay.
During the Rose Campbell era, we suggested the bridle path from then, and that's how the bridle path came about.
Okay.
Because remember, it was just a road with some dirt along the side. Continue, Maurice. Speaking about the road.
The pool.
Well, let me get back
No,
to
the
the
road.
road. Sorry, let me get back to the road. Let me ask you a question.
Okay.
Look like you want to swim, man.
Cool out.
What's your take about that wall? It's a blind corner. You know, I mean, you know, I hope I'm not really knocking in the head, but really and truly,
Alright.
I'm someone who wants the best for racing, and you have to be critical at times.
Right.
That was also, quite a few other things was discussed in a meeting with the promoting body, right? And I mean, Patrick had suggested, or told me that listen, either one of the two things, carry down the wall to around a 6 foot height, right? Or in the middle of the wall, remove some of the solid
Concrete,
Yeah.
right.
right? So you could see through.
And put some
Because
holes in
it
there.
is,
That's the truth.
unfortunately, it is an accident waiting to happen, right? Sometimes, because you find out when the horse is coming from pool, quite a few of them very hype coming around the corner. And if you have a blind corner with one horse going and one horse coming from or whatever. But as I said, we have spoken and we can continue to raise this issue with them. I believe what they said though was that somehow the wall and that wall running parallel to the 5th Street, you know, that painted it, was to do some promotional thing there or something they said there, that's why that carried it up that height.
I don't remember, but that is an issue that needs to be addressed also. They were thinking of putting up some two-way mirrors.
Yeah.
I haven't seen anything like that yet.
Well, ironically, no, those two-way mirrors, I cannot understand.
They don't seem
They're
to
always
work.
broken.
Yeah.
I don't know who is throwing a stone or whatever to break them. So, you know, I beg to wonder what's the suggestion that you said both you and the president proposed to them. I think it's a better proposal than having those two-way mirrors.
Yeah, man. We need to get back these things on the table now. You know, we have just finished the issue of the purse increases. So, you know, we're giving them some breathing space. Then we get back to them again because that road down the 5th Street is very bad. And those little issues with the wall and the pool, and you know, we have an aging infrastructure there, like most places in Jamaica. And we have aging infrastructure, you need proper engineering solutions to them. And when you're doing these engineering solutions, you need to listen to the people that it affects and the people that are there. Because if governments in Jamaica, governments going right back, if they just listen to people when they're building roads, highways, dams, bridges, everything, listen to the people what happens there, and then effect your engineering solution after that. A lot of the floodings that we're seeing that are happening now wouldn't be happening.
You know, there are little aspects that, you know, they might seem little that affects the trainers. The trainers are neglected in the sense the jockeys are okay, the grooms are okay, the owners are basically okay. And the owners of the trainers, they're there 24/7, every day. I'm talking about, well, where I'm going, and with due respect to the present Supreme Ventures, the original Supreme Ventures, headed by Paul Ho, we had a meeting. I was part of the advisory committee. We had several meetings, one of which we were going to change about 153 rules in the Jamaica Racing Commission Constitution.
Right.
You know, some like shall instead of shall, will, and you know, instead of a comma, a full stop there about. But what I'm getting to, the color's fine. How can you have a trainer that, you know, is working so hard every day, And if there's a cap missing or something like that, you're gonna find the trainer, which is gonna pass on to the owner. Some of, as I said, most horses are owned by trainers. In the United States and everywhere, the owner, the trainer, gives the colors to the racing office. So you don't need a rigmarole whereby you have to be carrying that thing to and from the home and everything, and they wash it. So on a race day, you get it.
It's presented to you just like the Santa Claus.
Yes.
You
If
remember?
you don't have a color, what they do, they give a substitute colors. It's just simple. We need these alleviations to, because the horsemen, we're under a lot of stress. Car maintenance, gas, toll, wear and tear of vehicle, so many things, and we need that ease to
Aging infrastructure, aging bodies.
exactly right. So it's not a thing about having so many new trainers coming in and everybody thinks it's a better route. It's not, because we have so much things to worry about horses, keeping care of them, feed, everything is going up. I went to buy a bottle of copper tax, and it's about near $7,000.
Yes, things like those have gone up exponentially.
Yeah, so
Over the last 5 years, those things have risen by about nearly 100%.
More than 100.
yeah, so to the Jamaica Racing Commission, with these every month there's an added rule, new rule, and everything like that. We need to make some to alter, to correct some of them, to change some of them. They are old, they are non-effective, and they put a lot of strain on the horsemen. And of course, in these times.
But you see, Colin, things like that now, there's where proper representation comes in. And although we are ERTAD listed as United Racehorse Trainers Association, we see ourselves as Trainers Association, represent
Everybody.
any and every trainer. So we need to get more people on board that will come on board and help us to do the work, because we have a massive amount of work to do. And we also have our separate lives and businesses to live and run. But we need the youngsters them to come on board, man, and assist us so we can set the stage that when we have left the executive, they can continue and carry it forward in the same vein.
Exactly. All right, let's move on to the waning quality of horses or quantity of horses we're taking. What idea do you think you could pass on to the promoting company that could, energize new owners, new people into the industry? I must say this, with part of being the advisory committee for the original Mr. Paul Ho Shipping Ventures in the original start. They got Stronach, of course, the Stronach Corporation, a huge racing industry. They own a lot of racetracks as well as farms. They had talks, and it had reached a high level whereby they would have given 70 horses, and they would be raffled on the race day. Anybody get them? I'm not sure that the promoting company would take care of the feeding, the keeping care, or partially, or whatever. But something has to be done. I mean, yes, some of the bigger races, the bigger fields, 90% of them have no chance, and it is buffered. What idea could we pass on to the promoting company? Because I know that they listen to the Open Gate show. We're just trying to help, sir.
We had in our discussion that just concluded with the purses, and they agreed. I think the first and foremost thing, the number of horses has to increase by 400 to 500, right? And they have agreed, yes, they acknowledge that, and they have some plans, which the chairman had said, to alleviate that shortfall. I don't know how or when they're going to achieve it, but they said, and they spoke very confident about it.
Well, I think they've started to bring in some already.
Yeah.
They're bringing in some horses.
Right. I think also too, the quality of the farms in terms of grass, water, soil, etc., needs to be addressed, right?
Urgently.
Right, needs to be addressed, right? But the numbers primarily have to come up, especially when we are running a claiming system.
Well, you know, we have a lot of owners who are breeders now. You know. The big spending owners, they are breeders. So they have to prepare the farm to inject money to better pasture, better this, better that. You know, it doesn't balance out.
Yes, I understand that it's very expensive. I can imagine. It's very expensive to run a farm, you know. I can just imagine that like any other business in these challenging times. But also the quality of the mares and some of the studs, everything is coming from US. Back in the days when we had good steers, they come from Europe.
Well, not only steers, you know, if the horse, in the days they're talking about, if a horse is bred to sprint, he's going to sprint.
Right.
And if he's bred to stay, he'll stay.
He'll stay.
But now, they're bred to do, well, they claim that they will do this and that.
They're bred now to sprint and
Just
stay.
sprint on the road, yeah.
And this is not happening.
Exactly.
So I'm saying that we need to, well, it is expensive to bring horses from England, Ireland, and those places. Supreme Ventures can take the bull by the horn and bring in at least 2 such studs and
mares
and a few races and some
But
mares.
Patrick, in the past, the previous promoter, headed by Eddie Lai,
Right.
they brought about 30 horses from England. The more horses you bring in from Europe, you know,
The
at
cheaper
one
it
time, the
is.
cheaper it is.
Right.
When you bring in
Anywhere in the
Yeah.
world.
Yeah.
So, in the little 6 horses that they bought the other day, it's
Yeah.
a total joke.
And that's from the US. But you know, I sit back and I observe them and I don't know why they only brought in 6, and I don't know, probably it's because of the cash crunch, I'm not sure. But things like these we'll be having further discussions with them in the coming weeks and coming months, because these are the things that will bring up the fields and get racing exciting again. And what I can say though, that I know, that some owners now are buying horses in the US and bringing in now. There's a uptick now in owners going abroad and buying horses to bring in, especially now that mile race is that lucrative mile race is there December.
Yeah,
Albeit it will be there only for a short time.
Well, in my opinion, the initial one that is coming in November,
Right.
it won't be as good as what to come, because I think there are some specifications that have limited some horses to come in to race. So I'm sure Mr. Denzel Miller et al. Will be making whatever adjustments for that next year.
Right. It should be better next year.
But what I can't understand, you have a so-called incentive competition, whereby the talk is it brings a lot of views. I can't see that making any relevance to purse, to anything of value.
Translate it.
Yeah. Now, if there's an adjustment with all that money that in that incentive so-called competition, if that is put into the appearance fee, unlike overseas, where if somebody runs a horse, say 4 times for the month, that money could feed those horses. I don't know what's your take on that?
We agree with you 100%, Colin, and 135 trainers agree with that position. That little incentive thing can be scrapped. But there's another 20 or 15 trainers that are benefiting from it.
Yes, but those are the trainers, Patrick, that are winning races.
Right.
So, I mean, everything is going to them.
Right. So you see, what I'm saying, the vast majority of trainers disagree with it. But these are the things that we say, discussions, continuous talks, and hoping that the authority, the Supreme Ventures will understand.
And I will just take off on that and say that we have discussed this on more than one occasion.
Ad nauseam.
I discussed it and we even said this to me. Try it for a month or 2 and see what happens.
When you say we,
The person negotiating team, when we met with all of the executives of Supreme Venture.
great. But what about the owners and the breeders? I thought the we would involve them too.
No, but I said, when we discussed it, and that was the forum we discussed it in, right? So the forum when we had negotiated for the purse,
So what about a representation from the breeders and owners?
the owner association was there.
Okay. Okay. You see, the whole point is, nobody's trying to bash the promoting company. But as Patrick said in the initial part of the show, they're business people, business minded. So obviously they'll do things how businessmen would do it. But, I'm hoping that the executives of the Supreme Ventures, they will listen to
You see, Colin, when they are wrong, we have no qualms in saying to them that you are wrong. We do not think you should have gone that way. But when we think they have done something right, we'll applaud them and agree with them.
Sure, I agree.
We are not a law unto ourselves. They are not a law unto themselves. So we try to have this, as Maurice likes to use the word, a symbiotic relationship where it's beneficial to both of us. So we are hoping that, they will listen a little more or try and understand a little more. But as I said, the relationship is far better than when we just started. Far, far better. And I think it will only get better based on the plans they have. And of which we are planning to have a general meeting soon of the entire trainership, and we want to have 2 Supreme Ventures and SVR and SVL, some of them head people there.
I thought the Jamaican Racing Commission?
Right. To talk to the trainers and put forward their view and where they are going and where they see themselves going. Because it's a good view.
Well, there's a big issue from my point where I have said it to the chairman, Mr. Solomon Sharp, as well as Lord of London. The public relation, I don't want to give the department there, but there's nothing that funds, okay, because the pick 6 and pick 9, great.
Take care of
But the horsemen, we don't know nothing.
Right.
And if they had intervals where they explain certain things or they say, well, this is going to be done and that, then we'll be more at ease. But when we're guessing, we're gonna form our own, well, not we, but most people are gonna form their own opinions.
Correct.
And most of those opinions, as we see in the Heritage group on WhatsApp, are way offline because they don't know and people want to know, so they guess. So, Mr. Chairman, you need to energize a public relation thing. I mean, not necessarily the race book, but at the even meetings with, so that people, the grooms, the trainers and jockeys, etc., can know what is what. And it will help a lot.
And when everyone knows, including the punters and possibly new owners,
Exactly.
people will hear and people will want to be a part of that vision that SVRL has.
True.
Because the vision is good, but you have to sell the vision.
Exactly.
And there are some grand plans based on the discussions that we have had with them, but I think it's their prerogative to sell that plan to the trainers and the to-be owners.
Yeah, there's I haven't called a lot of wannabe owners, but when they pencil it out, for example, when they ask how much to train a horse, obviously the bigger trainers will have maybe $3,000 or $4,000 per day, but for trainers who prefer to have what do you call it? Have I'm getting old.
A smaller barn?
No. For example, to have a package deal that they pay,
Okay.
the owner will pay the groom, for the horse, black and sauce.
Right.
When you add that up, and you put it against what the horse can earn, or even to agree to it,
Right.
and they start owning horses, they realize it doesn't pencil out.
You see, you know, this is a difficult thing for people to hear. But you know, this issue of owning and training horses, you know, Colin, it's not something for someone who can't afford it, you know. Because when you can't afford it, it becomes a hustle. And that is what is happening over there now. A lot of owners have I heard a trainer saying on the trainer's website, a man only have him one money and take him one money and claim a one horse. But then if that trainer didn't inveal that man to take his one money and claim a one horse, or told him no, say you can't just have this one money and coming into racing. That's not how it goes. So the trainers themselves need to look at themselves also and know whether you can take that horse from that man or guide him to somewhere else, because 9 out of 10 times it is going to cost you the trainer.
Not owning the horses, you know. For example, it costs me $36,000 per month for gas and toll to come to the track. So that's a deficit per month.
I'm a little more fortunate than you. I don't have to pay the toll.
Well, you live on the northern side, I'm on the south side. So, you know.
You can sail by boat, man.
So, you see, the whole thing that the whole point we're trying to project is the cost.
Right.
Now, if that incentive, what do you call it? The appearance fee.
Right.
Because all of us here are owner trainers. I own 3 horses.
Right.
And everything else. If that would help to
minimize, right? To minimize that impact, we quite agree with you.
What would offset some of the cost, you know, which is quite prevalent in North America, is the syndication. But there's a cultural issue with us with that syndication thing, right? But I remember many years ago, funny side, over 100 persons owned it. Right? So if you syndicate, right, but there is problems, can be problems. Now who gave me the lead person? And I think that we collect the money and
I can elaborate more. It's a great idea, and in that time of that era in the States, you have an old office or old workplace that own the horse.
Right.
This is why when the horse wins, you see 50 people.
Right.
But time has changed, and you know, it's we have to change with times. And our beloved sport, horse racing. I mean, there's no such sport that can match it, because it's so much. Some people don't have come to the track not to really gamble, but to look at the horse, the
magnificent.
Yes, riding their horses, and look at all sorts of things. And of course, the good food. It's good. Some investors have invested a lot of money. They don't intend to lose. So for people out there who are sitting on the fence, waiting to see the fullness of what is to come, I'd advise you to get on board now. The yearling sale is coming up. Try and get a horse. Try and find a trainer. You know, you have Patrick, you have Maurice, maybe me. You have so many other trainers. You have good trainers, very good trainers there now. Fitzroy Gillespie, Ron Matty, Fitzroy Richard, Howard McLeod, those guys. So many.
There are a lot of good trainers
yes.
on the track.
You can pick and choose. Come, deal with them. If you are not liking what the discussion or what is offered, there are several other trainers you can go to. You have young trainers, you have Stephen Todd and Darby, those guys. So much.
Which we must commend for bringing on some young owners. I've seen some young owners with Stephen Todd there. What's the word I would use to describe them now? I saw them win a race a few months ago, and I sat back and looked at them and smiled. They were so enthused and jumping and bouncing, and I said, that's what the sport needs. Young people coming up into it and moving forward.
When you win a race, well, most people are not going to understand because they're not owners. That thrill gives you, maybe there's only one thing that better than thrill. You know what it is, Maurice?
I know that.
Well, you know,
You can't compare it.
I was reading the Observer today, and I saw where Von White ran a first and a second.
Mm-hmm.
Long time owner Von White. He's been in racing 25, 30 years, and his 2-year-old won and one ran second. And Von said that's the first that's happening to him. The first he's running a first and a second.
And 2 different stables.
And he was so elated, you know, and it's good that's supposed to put back some good juices in his body, in his brain, you know.
They said the thrill of victory.
The thrill of victory, man.
And
Yes.
it's great when you buy your horse, you can name the horse, you watch it grow, you hear the progression of how he trains. And, you know, Saturday is an outlet, that's the day, it's an outlet. For all those hard-working people, Monday to Friday, you know, it's a great outlet where you can sit and watch your horse in your colors and everything like that. And you know, it's good to know that Supreme Ventures is making the infrastructure such that it can be something like a recreation place for kids and everybody, which that is needed. And you know, racing is looking good. You know, we are hoping, well, for me, that you know there's time on earth, life to really see it blossom.
See it blossom, yes.
I should interject also to say that the promoter, right, has allowed us the use of a building, a part of office in a building, and
Right.
they have renovated, right, painted or whatever. That building adjacent to 5th Street, right, we turned into Passage Stable.
That used
Okay,
to be
yeah.
the jockey.
And it is ready now, so we just retrofitting it with some air conditioned unit and some furniture. So any day now.
It took a while, but we'll have
It
that as
took
an
a while.
office for
Yeah, right.
Heritage, you know.
Yeah.
So there are little things that are taking time. We just need to have a little more patience, because in my own view, in another 3 years or thereabouts, so 4 years, I think racing will be taking off. You know, but there are just some little niggling things now that needs to be done to kind of alleviate some of the problems. Once you alleviate that and you start talking to people and telling them what's going on and listening also, it will make a big difference in your public relations.
And making that point, I hope the overseas, I hope the diaspora is listening and thinking. Come and invest into the horse racing industry. There are a lot of things out there are a lot of rhetorics and everything that would make you change your mind. No, you're hearing it, the facts, you're hearing what is in the pipeline. Come and invest. You don't have to come. You have social media, you can see your horse train, you can see your horse run. Right? And you have Western Union, you have Belly, all sorts of ways of paying, you know, whatever the bills are. But for those who are looking at the mathematical part of it, you know, I am hoping that the promoting company tries to make some adjustment so that an owner and trainer, well, together, they, you know, it's more valuable. If your horse runs out, at least there's something that can buy some hay, some feed.
Right. As you alluded to that little thing there that needs to be
Yes.
removed, right?
Well, are there anything extra that you guys want to talk about briefly before we call it a night?
No, just to summarize that Patrick was said, that there are great plans ahead and our thoughts about the product exploding. Rome wasn't built in a day, and we're getting there.
Right, that's correct. We as an association have only been there for what, 7 months now?
7 to 8 months.
7 to 8 months, and we have a far way to go. We have a lot of work to do. Just like Supreme Ventures, they have only been there, what, 4 or 5 years?
5 years, yeah.
They have a lot of work to do also, likewise ourselves.
And I must say, Trainer Patrick Lynch, owner and breeder too.
Oh, he's a part of the negotiation.
I was about to say that.
Yes,
He's a part of the negotiation team, he's a part of the executive.
Right.
And for someone like that to be a part of it, along with Patrick Smellie and Maurice Crooks et al. And I'm part of it also. You know, it shows the type of people who are trying to put everything together. And that's what Patrick says. Rome wasn't built in a day, but you know things are going accordingly, and in due time you will see the results. You know, let's hope that members of the Heritage group, the WhatsApp group, well, they've been seeing this special show. They can understand and put more patience and wait and see and give the executives enough time to make things come good.
A little more patience, right? That's what we ask.
A little more patience, and also a little more, we need some more shoulders at the wheel.
Right, we need some more shoulders to help to turn the wheel.
Right.
Yes, and because really and truly, both of you guys, I mean, you have other things to look about, and you know, definitely. But I guess the executive, maybe the next meeting, we could try to make that, try to energize some of the executives.
Yeah.
And for me, I'm not a very open person. Maybe if they're not performing, then we change them.
That's a real possibility that we may have to look at. That's a real possibility that we have to look at.
Yeah, at this point in time, the Open Gate Show would like to remind horse racing fans of some trainers who was recently passed on. Wayne Acosta, Stanley Finley, Jack Snow, Bert Thomason, just to name a few that have played a great part, including Chris Harmon also, played a great part in uplifting horse racing to where it's at. Unfortunately, Trinidad racing has gone down very low. So that should, you know, put the Jamaican racing in a better stead. Not that we are happy for that. But Barbados only have, what, a 3-month meet, you know, at intervals. But I'm just reminding you, do not listen to the rhetorics. People love to add and twist things to make things sound exciting. Come and invest. Supreme Ventures is doing what they're doing. And we have an executive as what President Patrick Smellie, Maurice Crooks, Patrick Lynch, and others.
Dale Murphy, yeah.
Dale Murphy,
right.
And those guys. We're trying to, you know, put an input whereby the program committee can listen and make the necessary adjustment. So the year-end sale, well, the big race meet is what, the 11th of November?
No, the 3rd of December.
The 3rd of December?
Right. There's a Gold Cup before that.
Oh.
In November, and then there's the mile.
The Jamaica Cup.
Right, and so
for 125,000 US.
Right, so you know, there are purses there that will interest people.
Mm-hmm.
So purchasing horses now and next year, I think will definitely, like myself, I sort of stood back and was waiting and watching to see where the sport is going. But I see where it will be going in a good place. So I will start investing shortly in looking at horses, seeking horses to purchase.
Well, it's the era now where cheap horses are winning a lot of the classics. For example, in the States, well, even Atomical, $700,000.
Right.
So, you know, chances are for anything. I mean, coming out of your home, you know, anything can happen. So, come and invest. Mr. President, Patrick Smellie, Maurice Crooks, and our viewers, this is Colin Blair, the Open Gate Show, the producer, Mr. Nick Barnaby. We appreciate everything, and we're just trying to put our piece to help horse racing in Jamaica becomes better. Take care.